Hello and welcome to the Soccer Curious podcast, the beautiful game explained, and our continuing series, the World Cup for Newbies. On today's episode, we're performing a lightning round review of the USMNT'S 2-3 defeat against Turkey, explain how the knockout rounds actually work, and look ahead to the U.S. team's round of 32 clash against Bosnia Herzegovina tomorrow. My name is Brian Peter Falk. Joining me is the acting guru himself, Gary Marks. Welcome, Gary.
Let's get our Pochettino on, boys.
And Sirius XM DJ Mark Hamilton. Welcome, Mark.
This is my German fork.
Oh, put the fork in them. They are done.
Auf
What a crazy
Wiedersehen.
day. What a Auf Wiedersehen. What a crazy day it was yesterday. We're recording this pod on Tuesday, June 30th, last day of June, with the U.S. men playing tomorrow. A crazy slate of games yesterday. France is about to play as we're talking. It's a wonderful time to be a soccer fan for sure. So let's get started. So a very quick Turkey review, since that game is now several days old, and it didn't matter when it was played, and it sort of matters less now. But in doing our due diligence, I wanted to run it past you guys. I'm sure you watched the game. Sort of just bring up a couple of things that I think might be important moving forward. It was a loss. The U.S. did something you're never supposed to do, which is they gave up a goal, as they say, at the death. As the last kick practically of the game, they gave up a goal to turn a tie into a loss and lost to Turkey by 2-3. What are your thoughts on this game? Mark, why don't you start?
I predicted this. If you
Okay.
remember, I said
Yeah, you
Turkey
did.
by 1.
Wow.
And there
Well
we
done.
were.
Yeah?
I'm not a betting guy, so I didn't gain him.
You're
Other
like the
than-
Charles Barkley of the podcast.
Yeah, that's it. I am the Barkley of the podcast. Thank you.
In many
This
ways.
is a specimen.
Yes, you predicted it. Well played. This was the U.S. men's B team, really. 10 of the 11 starters did not start the game. Only Weston McKennie, one of our midfielders, was the only holdover from the sort of established starting 11. So there wasn't an expectation that they were going to go out there and woodshed Turkey. In the analytics department, the U.S. won on almost every analytic, just not on the one that is the score. So, well, Mark, what was your thought of the game? What did you think when you watched it?
Well, I thought we sort of predicted that Mauricio, he's our coach, right?
Poch.
He's also the guy who, I'm sorry?
Pochettino, everyone calls him Poch.
Pochettino. There you go. We sort of predicted that he would go with the B team.
Yep.
And Christian Pulisic, he played for a little.
He
He's our
came in
big
later.
star.
Yep.
He
He
came
did,
in later.
second half.
He did not score. Is that correct?
That is correct. He did not score. What I will say is, and this is in my little notes of what I'm hoping will be a very short review so we can move on, but Pulisic did change the game when he came in, because suddenly he was so much more dangerous, and it pulled Turkey's defense further apart, and we looked a lot better. And I thought when that happened, okay, we're going to see this game out. Maybe we'll live with the tie, but that will be great. They won't have lost a game in the group stage, which is probably, again, and all this record-breaking stuff that's been happening, probably would break a record. Unfortunately, it was not to be. But yes, Pulisic
That
did
was
get
my
into the
that
game.
was my thought. When he came in, the game seemed to change, and I thought, oh, we may pull this one out. But I think it's good to get the loss, because from this point on, a loss means it's over. So we know what that feels like, and we don't want to feel it again.
Yeah, for sure. Gary, what did you think? What did you think of this game?
Well, I was less than enthused because, as we discussed, it didn't mean that much to the Americans. Although, as a fan, I always want my team to win. But I was informed in that heartbreaking moment that Arda Güler nutmegged Christian Pulisic, which I didn't want to Google for fear of the videos that would show up in my search history.
Fair.
So I thought I would defer to you to tell me what is nutmegging.
That's a great soccer term. I'm glad you brought it up. Yes, Mark.
It's a Connecticut thing.
Okay.
Connecticut.
Explain yourself.
The nutmeg state.
Oh, okay. Is that the nutmeg state? I
yeah,
didn't know.
yeah.
No, in
It
that
is the
case,
nutmeg
it's
state.
not a Connecticut thing. A nutmeg is when you play a ball between your opponent's legs, like in hockey, the 5-hole.
Oh,
When you play a ball. So
wow.
in that last moment where the goal was scored, Pulisic and Arda Güler were like off in the corner. Arda Güler is this 21-year-old phenom who plays for Real Madrid and is Turkey's probably their best player, who did not have a great World Cup, but did score earlier in this game, opened the scoring for Turkey. And in that moment, he sort of turned and nutmegged Pulisic. You have to remember that Pulisic is not a defender, right? He's an attacking player. But still, Pulisic was in there trying to give him the business. Güler, fed the ball through Pulisic's legs and danced around him and got a ball to someone else, who then crossed the ball to the back post. There is a thing in defense, and as a former defender, I'm very aware of this, where sometimes they talk about defenders ball watching, which means instead of staying with the man you're supposed to be defending, you get caught just watching the ball in flight and not paying attention to where your guy is. So in that play, there was a guy wide open on the back post of the net, standing there by himself, who managed to cross the ball in and was an easy tap in. The big takeaway is the bench, especially for the defenders on the U.S. men's national team, not deep.
Fail.
Right? Very shallow bench. So it's really important that, like, Chris Richards, our best central defender, Tim Ream, the old man, the old dude, Tim Ream, 38 years old, but makes these amazing line-breaking passes. It's important that those guys stay healthy, because what we had in Mark McKenzie and Miles Robinson was not good. Those two players hopefully will spend the rest of their World Cup cheering on their teammates from the bench, is probably where they belong.
But they're on the team.
But they're on the team, and like they also provided important service, which is they let everybody else rest while they went out and played a game that on paper and in the math of the whole thing is meaningless, because the U.S. had already advanced in the first seeded position, which we'll talk about in a little bit.
Well, didn't our coach, whose name again I forget already,
Mauricio Pochettino.
Mauricio Pochettino, Poch and John.
Poch, like Eric, just think Eric Estrada in Chips.
Yeah, without the N, yeah.
So Poch previously said, if I remember correctly, there are no starters on this team. There are only players.
Right. Yeah, so there you go. So those players got their chance. I will tell you that one bright spot certainly was this young man named Sebastian Berhalter, who is a son of a former U.S. men's national team coach, Greg Berhalter, who plays in Major League Soccer in Vancouver for a team called the Vancouver Whitecaps, and is one of their best players, and is one of the best players in the U.S., and is one of the discoveries that Pochettino made in the run-up to the World Cup when he was giving tryouts to all these guys. Berhalter was really good on the day. He scored an absolute cracker of a goal, and he is also a free kick specialist. So free kicks are when there's a foul committed and there's a dead ball and someone gets to put that ball in play, or there's a corner kick, that's also a free kick. And in this case, our first goal came from a Seb Berhalter free kick that defender Austin Trusty was standing on the back post, ball watching, and he made a nice trap and popped it in the net for our first goal. So Seb Berhalter, I think, I don't think he's a starter on the team, but he showed that if he's coming onto the field in the 75th minute to eat up some midfield minutes, we have nothing to fear. I think did really, really well in the game. So that was good.
Cool.
The only thing that I think anybody should be concerned about, especially with a big game tomorrow in our first knockout game, is whether or not the loss is so deflating that it kills momentum. Momentum's a big word in tournaments, right? Because teams are, by the end of the tournament, are often not the teams that start. They grow into the tournament. They get better. They have success. Success feeds confidence, and confidence feeds results and all that stuff. So I guess the open question is, will having this loss, still topping the group and all that stuff, be so deflating for the team that they're not going to come out tomorrow when they play at the stadium formerly known as Levi Stadium up in Santa Clara in California, when they play Bosnia Herzegovina? Will they come out a little flat and a little less confident? So sort of an open question, but you guys are sports guys. What do you think of that? What do you think of the momentum argument?
I mean, I would, in other sports, I would buy it, but I mean, I guess the equivalent is, if the Knicks were knew that they were going to, take the East, and in their last 3 games, they just played the bench. It wouldn't mean anything going into the playoffs. So I think it equally doesn't necessarily mean anything here.
Yeah.
I would think that for the U.S., probably not deflating. It shouldn't be deflating. As we said, it was not the players we're used to seeing on the field.
Right.
But I think that with some of the upsets yesterday and however things unfold today, momentum could be on the side of Bosnia Herzegovina, because they're jacked up seeing David defeat Goliath on more than one occasion.
Good point. And that could be true. And I see both sides of it. I think that, Gary, you're absolutely right that in one way, we're not talking about our sort of starting lineup. Christian Pulisic got some minutes and Weston McKennie played. But other than that, it really wasn't who we're going to see against Bosnia, including the goalkeeper, a different Matt. The other Matt played in the goal.
As predicted.
Yeah, as predicted, right? We were going to go the other Matt, which predicted here on the Soccer Curious podcast. And he wasn't great, to be honest, I have to say. Like, one of those goals he didn't know anything about. There's nothing he could do. You hope he comes out on that last one, tries to get in front of that cross as opposed to waiting on his end line, which he did not do. It's hard to blame the guy for not being a little rusty since he's been riding the pine this whole time and is now expected to come in and do something. But I guess the other thing that's worth discussing, and then we'll move on, is, and I've heard other people say this, and I sort of subscribe to this idea. For me, who's a lifelong soccer fan and is going to watch all the games no matter what, the loss sucked, but it's okay. We move on. I think it doesn't have any impact on the players or on the coach, and we have so many good attributes going into a game against Bosnia. On paper, we win that game, no problem, et cetera, et cetera. But for the new fan, 15 million people are tuning into that game, and it's a disappointing game. Like, they tried on the public address system at the end of the game. They played Country Roads. And of course, and like, why do you do that, number one? But anyway, they played it, and of course, it just played there with John Denver warbling along, and nobody's singing because we lost the game. So I do worry that something like that is like, oh, same old U.S., can't get it done. Against who? Turkey? That's like a deli meat. Like, why are we losing? And for the new fan, it probably isn't great.
And with all the talk of nutmeg and turkey, it's very Thanksgiving and not very 4th of July.
Real fall vibes.
Yeah, it puts me to sleep just hearing about it. It's like
that trichinosis is kicking in.
Or the tryptophan. Yeah.
Tryptophan. Trichinosis.
That's if you eat the turkey raw. In fact, I think that's only pork. Okay, we're going to move on. So let's talk a little bit about the knockout rounds. Again, this whole point of this soccer podcast is to educate people about what happens in soccer. So in the knockout rounds, these are winner-go-home games, single elimination games. So there's no more points. There's no more 3 points for a win, 1 point for that's all gone. There are also no more ties. You can't have ties anymore, so no more of that whole tiebreaker thing. You have to have a winner at the end of each game. So what that means is that you play a 90-minute game. That 90-minute game then adds on some stoppage time, right? So you have stoppage time. If you get through stoppage time and the score is still tied, you then go to a 30-minute extra time, which is split into 2 15-minute halves with a very brief break in between, and the teams switch sides of the field, okay? If it's still tied at the end of that, and you want to be really impressive at a cocktail party, when somebody says, wow, those penalty kicks were amazing, you can waggle your finger and say, not really penalty kicks, because there's no penalty. So they are either called kicks from the mark, or sometimes people say a shootout.
There we go.
Shootout.
Right, a shootout. That is
American.
And that is more American. And they could brand it and everything, which they're not doing.
Oh,
there's a whole branding opportunity they're missing on the shootout.
Or the shootout sponsored by Smith & Wesson.
That would be very American. There is in this 30-minute extra time, it's important to note that in some tournaments, but not the World Cup, there is something called the golden goal, which means it's a sudden death overtime, extra time, where as soon as a goal is scored, the game is over. That does happen in high school and college, at the college level, when you go into extra time to determine a winner. As soon as a goal is scored, the game is over. It's very exciting. But that's not what we're doing. We go to these kicks from the mark, also known as the shootout, or sometimes called the penalty shootout.
The golden goal should not be confused with the golden boot.
Very different. Player with the most
God.
goals. That's an award at the end of the World Cup. Or the golden goose, which has nothing to do with soccer. So you have the kicks from the mark. So the way that's determined is there's a coin flip with the captains to determine who goes first. There's a slight advantage to going first, to knowing how many you need to still score to win in the shootout. I wouldn't say it's a huge advantage. But anyway, you get to go first. The only people who are allowed to take the kicks are the players who are left on the field when the final whistle has blown. So nobody from the bench can come on and take a kick. It has to be the players left on the field, including the goalkeeper. And many times goalkeepers have taken kicks. It's 5-on-5. One player goes, the next player goes. They switch out the goalkeepers. One player, next player. And then at the end of the 5, whoever has scored more of the goals wins the game. It is both infuriating and super exciting when this happens. And it's worth mentioning that it's just so indicative of what happens in the knockout rounds. The games are tough. The games are very close. And as we saw yesterday, there can be big upsets. I mean, Brazil almost lost yesterday. Brazil was losing the game at halftime to Japan and then came back to win it with like a 95th minute score from Gabriel Martinelli, who also plays for Arsenal. Go Gunners. Then Germany lost in a shootout. Then the Dutch lost to Morocco, also in a shootout.
Yeah, to Morocco. That was very exciting.
That was
very
crazy.
exciting.
What a game.
Are they our sleeper favorite now?
Here's what I will say about Morocco. So Morocco you cannot underestimate Morocco. So Morocco in Qatar in 2022, they were a little bit of the Cinderella story because they made it to the semifinals. They were one of the last 4 teams standing and then got knocked out. But, I mean, that's super crazy impressive. Morocco is an excellent, excellent team. If the U.S. gets down the road and we have Morocco, we should be afraid.
Yeah.
So it's an upset to beat the Dutch only because the Dutch, who have never won the World Cup, are the one country that has, I think, 3 times been to the final and they've lost.
Correct. And they've never not advanced to the round of 16.
Wow, that's amazing.
Wow.
I did not know that stat. That's crazy.
That's a crazy loss then.
This was their worst World Cup ever.
Yeah. Well, you know
Aside
why?
from
Because
the 2 that they lost in a row in the final.
they didn't go with the traditional Dutch orange uniforms. They went with like this weird highlighter orange, which everybody that I'm
gross.
talking to hates. They're like, what has happened to that great orange Dutch color that you see like the speed skaters wearing in the Winter Olympics? That's the color they're supposed to have.
Orange.
Yeah.
The brilliant orange.
Yeah. What on earth happened?
It's all in the
Anyway, so
color.
any questions about the knockout rounds?
Can you refresh on the red cards and the yellow cards? Do they carry over from the group into this round and then we get zeroed out?
Yes, I can refresh that. So if you get cards during the group stage, all your cards are now wiped away in the round of 32. So if you're carrying a yellow card, you don't carry that into the round of 32. You start completely fresh. The only time you would have to sit in the round of 32 is if you had accumulated 2 yellow cards during the group stage. But now that the group stage is over, everybody, when they start play in their round of 32 game, everybody's a clean slate. No one is sitting on a card of any type. Now, again, if you get a yellow and then in the round of 16 you get a yellow, you are then sitting in the quarterfinal. The problem is that's going to apply to very few teams, and the odds that would happen are pretty small. But because the whittling down goes very fast now, right? We're going to get from the round of 32 to the round of 16 in a week. By next Sunday, we're going to know like what the hell's going on in the round of 16. It's crazy. It all goes really, really quick.
It's all over less than 3 weeks from today.
Yeah, it goes really, really fast.
Then what?
Then what do we do with our time? Then it's just baseball, man. Just baseball.
Bocce. We should do a bocce podcast.
Okay. Hey, you know what? The Bocce Curious podcast. There's a whole world out there of sports I don't know, including that one. You just roll a ball in the sand. and drink espresso, as far as I know.
We'll call it botulism for beginners.
I do like that. Okay, so that's everything we need to know about the knockout round. When we come back, we are going to look ahead to the U.S. versus Bosnia Herzegovina. And I do want to say I looked it up. You can say that two ways. Herzegovina with the go as the emphasis, or Herzegovina with the V as the emphasis. But apparently the preferred one is with the V. Herzegovina. Bosnia Herzegovina. We are going to talk about that right after this. Welcome back to the Soccer Curious Podcast, Beautiful Game Explained. We are now talking Bosnia. So tomorrow, the U.S. men's national team plays their first knockout stage game, the round of 32, against third-place finisher Bosnia Herzegovina. It is important to note that the U.S. has played a bunch of games against European competition, going back to the last 10 games against European competition, which I actually think predates Poch a little bit. The U.S. is 0-10. They have not won a game against a European team in 10 tries.
Are we scared of Bosnia Herzegovina?
Well, that's an interesting question. I am not. Bosnia and Herzegovina is not as skilled a team as the U.S. So in terms of the FIFA rankings, which again, as I always say on this pod, take this with a grain of salt because it's a little bit, made out of rainbows and kittens. But so if you look at where these teams started at the World Cup, which was the last time the ranking was done, the U.S. was ranked 17th. The U.S. has been ranked higher than that at certain times and also lower. So 17th is, I think, is fine. Bosnia is ranked 64th.
Yeah.
Okay. So they are not a powerhouse European team. And when I say we've lost to European teams, we've lost to Belgium. We lost to Switzerland. Like teams like that. We lost to Germany. Very recently, we lost to Belgium and Germany. Bosnia is a European team, of course. Bosnia Herzegovina is in Europe, but they are not at the same caliber level as a Portugal or a Spain or a whomever. So just bear that in mind. Here was Bosnia's group stage. So Bosnia was in the Canada group. They played Canada, Switzerland, and Qatar. So they tied Canada 1-1. They lost to Switzerland 1-4. And they beat Qatar 3-1. One of those goals was an own goal. Okay. So here is how they played those three teams. So versus Canada, Bosnia had about 39% of the ball. So just under 40%. They had 3 shots on target, meaning 3 balls were inside the frame of the goal. One of those went in against Canada. The other 2 did not. Against Switzerland, this is going to sound super familiar. They had 38% of the ball and 3 shots on target. So they don't get a lot of shots on target. And they are also a team that, as we have learned, is going to sit in a low block. They are going to have less than 40% of the ball. This will be the same against the U.S. Versus Qatar, a team that sucks. They had 46% possession of the ball. They didn't even have half the possession. They also had 3 shots on target.
Wow.
Right?
We so consistent.
They are very consistent on the shots on target. So they play in a defensive 4-4-2, 4 defenders across the back, 4 midfielders, and 2 strikers up top. That is a classic formation. That is a very old and tried and true formation. It has the benefit for them of sort of clogging up the midfield. Can make it very tough to play through the midfield on them because they have put so many people there. And then those midfielders get to drop back and help on defense. So when they're in that low block, when they are parking the bus, they do that with a lot of players. And it's incumbent upon the attacking team, in this case the U.S., to try to get really creative to play through this defensive team. When they get the ball, they will be, as we've said before, on the counterattack. They are more well known for not dribbling up the field as much as they are sending a ball with a long pass up the field, which sometimes you'll hear commentators say they're taking Route 1, which means right up the gut, just passing a 40-yard ball.
How long is the football field? The soccer field compared to an American football field? And how wide?
Great question.
Because this is a much bigger
Great.
field.
So an American football field, which is about an acre, that's how I always tell people when they want to know what an acre is. It's about an American football field, is 50 wide by 100 long, right? So in FIFA, there is a range that a field can be. The largest soccer field possible, which I don't know if they're always playing on the largest one, because sometimes these football fields, these American football stadiums, can't accommodate the biggest width. The biggest width is 100 yards wide by 140 long.
Wow, that's a big field.
And I'll tell you, like, so years ago, my son and I, we were in London, and we took the Arsenal tour at Emirates Stadium in North London. This is before we even went to see a game. It was the summertime. They weren't playing. And as part of the tour, you got like your little headset on. You're listening to all these little things about Arsenal. You get to walk out onto the field at Emirates. It's immense. It's so much space. It's the maximum size. It's so much space.
Wow.
It just looks so tiring to have to run around on this enormous piece of grass. So I don't know what it is at Levi Stadium. We should look it up. I'd be interested to know how big the soccer pitch is. But unfortunately, producer Naren's not with us today, so we'll have to live in ignorance. But
I'll do his job.
Thank you. Gary's doing it.
Producer Naren, Prona.
Yeah. Prona. So while Gary's looking that up, let's talk about what the positives of Bosnia are. And we should know this in advance of the game. So the best part of their attack is that they have two sort of young, very active wing players, one on the right, one on the left. The one on the right is someone who's familiar to American soccer fans. His name is Esmir Baraktarovic. And Baraktarovic was born in Wisconsin. He is a dual national. And he played his professional soccer first in Major League Soccer for a team called the New England Revolution. Hey, New England, where Mark is right now and where Gary went to college. So he played there for like 3 years. Then he got a transfer to the best team in the Dutch league, which is called the Eredivisie, called PSV Eindhoven. Okay. So the cool thing about that, and it's a thing for us to pay attention to when this game starts tomorrow. So he's the starting right attacking wing for PSV Eindhoven. The starting right back for PSV Eindhoven, who's a player who's going to pass the balls a lot to Baraktarovic, is America's Serginho Dest. So they'll be playing against each other. But they won't be on the same side of the field, right? Because Serginho's on the right and Baraktarovic is on the right. But it'll be interesting to see, does Serginho know the tricks that Baraktarovic is going to use that he can pass on to the guys on the left? Don't fall for this. He's going to do the step over here. Sort of like a little interesting chess match that goes on behind the scenes there when you have players from the same team. Ricardo Pepi, who's one of our strikers who started the Turkey game.
Ricardo Pepi.
Ricardo Pepi also plays for PSV, so he plays in the striker position, and to his right is Esmir Baraktarovic.
So he is from the he has dual citizenship.
Yeah.
Does he play for Bosnia Herzegovina because it was easier for him to get on that team?
Players join national teams for a variety of different reasons. Sometimes it is literally because they look at a national team and think, I'm not going to get on this team. There's not going to be a space for me. I think in the case of Baraktarovic, he made this decision a while ago, and I think it was because he just, felt close to his Bosnian Herzegovinian roots and wanted to play for Bosnia. And so he just sort of made that decision.
I think also the Bosnian announcers can say Baraktarovic a lot better than the Americans can.
That is for sure, because I'm struggling.
I'm a big fan of the Baraktarovic in the Flintstone cartoon.
I love the Baraktarovics.
Really, I mean... Good
There's
family.
nothing like a Shabbat dinner at the Baraktarovics.
Right after the Brontosaurus, the next one that everybody likes.
My God. That Bronto rib, that is something.
Well, if you liked Baraktarovic, wait till I tell you about Karim Alabegovic.
Oh, he's always
because he's the left winger, also a young dude. He's been one of the breakout stars of the tournament. They're dangerous, those two wing players. So we have to be very mindful on the outsides of the defense. We don't want Baraktarovic driving a Tim Ream. If you see that happening in the game, that should set off the warning bells. That's not a good matchup because he's quick. And Tim has a lot of good qualities. Fleet of foot ain't one of them. So just be advised.
All right. Let's watch out for that Baraktarovic.
Yes. They will play a low block, as we've discussed. They will park the bus. They will wait to play the counterattack. They do not want the ball. They will have the ball as little as possible. They will look to get a ball from us and send a long ball to Baraktarovic or Alabegovic and try to get those guys involved in the attack. The last thing they have is they have a striker up top who, if we have Tim Ream at 38, they have a 40-year-old striker. Okay.
I love it.
This guy's name is Edin Dzeko.
He's their Tom Brady.
He's their Tom
Brady. He's their Michael Jordan.
Correct. And
it's his last dance,
he is the most capped player in Bosnia Herzegovina's history, meaning he has the most games playing for the national team. He's a big dude. He is the leader of the team, the captain, all those things. So he's an experienced player. He's very familiar with the dark arts of soccer, how you rake the leg with the cleat, how you flop, how you do all the stuff. He's a very tough player. And again, with a name like Edin Dzeko, he sounds like a Rocky villain, and he sort of plays that part.
More Jerko.
Drago.
Exactly.
He's Drago.
I will say, in the last episode, you asked how we felt about the flopping, and since then, I'm sick and tired of the flopping.
Yeah, the flopping sucks.
I've had enough of that.
Yeah, it's really noticeable.
It sucks.
Sucks.
The one that really kills me is the rolling on the ground while grabbing the face. When they've barely been grazed or they've been hit on the side of the head or exactly, it's the worst. For those of you listening to this, Mark is attempting to do a flop while in front of his microphone. Yeah, I mean, it really, they've got to fix this because I do think it hurts making inroads in the American market. It really does because, again, in American sports, selling a foul, sure, that happens in the NBA constantly with the hands in the air and all that stuff. Flopping when you haven't even been touched, it doesn't work. It's
more mopping, less flopping.
Seriously, it's not sportsmanlike. It looks silly. They look like idiots doing it. Yeah.
The women don't do it.
And the women don't do it. The women do not flop at all. No. Yeah. So that should tell you something. And they're smarter, so come on.
And
definitely.
They win more often too.
And they are also big winners, 4-time World Cup winners. So here are the negatives on Bosnia Herzegovina. Number one, their defense is pretty vulnerable. Okay. They've struggled with defensive stability. In 10 of their World Cup qualifying matches, they conceded at least one goal, which is not great. They did beat Italy, which is not saying much these days because the Italian team was bad, but they had to use a play-in to get into the tournament. Remember, they are ranked 64th. They also struggle for goals. They just don't, as I was saying, when they had the shots on target and they only had 9, they just don't get a lot of opportunities to score. So here's one stat that I thought was a little mind-blowing when I did this math. So touches in the opponent's box. Remember, we talked about this a couple episodes ago. And the U.S. in their first game had 53 touches in Paraguay's penalty area. It was super amazing. So in their first 3 games of the group stage, Canada against the Swiss and against Qatar, Bosnia-Herzegovina had a total of 39 touches across 3 games in the opponent's box. The contrast there is the U.S. in their 3 games had 109, had 70 more touches.
Wow.
Now, part of this is, again, they're playing the counter, and they're going to send that Route 1 long ball most of the time. So when you see that happening tomorrow, when a defensive player gets a ball and just launches it, and those Bosnian players, Baraktarovic and those dudes are just streaking down the field, you're not going to get as many touches because they're hoping to just trap and shoot. So that's one touch. So it's sort of as a function a little bit of the way that they play. But it also is sort of a damning statistic. They just don't come across as a team that's particularly lethal when they're trying to score goals. And they're a little bit of a sieve in the back where they can switch off or get caught ball watching as the USB players did the other day. And somebody like Fowler and Balogun, who's a much better striker than they certainly faced against Qatar. and Christian Pulisic and Dest and McKinney and Malik Tillman, those guys are better players. So I think I would look more toward more like the Swiss result, like a 3-1 or something like that, than I would a tight contest that goes to penalty kicks. Again, these games are hard. Brazil almost lost. Germany is out. The Dutch are out. It's crazy time.
And in the any given day scenario of this, correct me if I'm wrong, it's Bosnia's first knockout round appearance and possibly Dzeko's last appearance if they lose.
Both of those things are true for sure. Yeah.
So there could, there are some factors that could go into, an emotional.
Sure.
They're playing.
They're going to be psyched for this game for sure because their backs are against the wall. They know they're the underdogs. They are going to be really motivated. I will expect a hack-a-Chris. We need a better name for that, but they're going to be fouling Pulisic quite a lot. They're going to be trying to...
Crack-a-Chris.
They're going to be trying to...
A crisscross.
A crisscross. Good.
Oh, there
Let's
you
keep
go.
Going. No bad ideas in brainstorming. Let's go. We'll get it eventually.
I like both of those. Crack-a-Chris and crisscross.
Crack-a-Chris is good. A crisscross. They're going to be doing that. When Pulisic has a ball on the outside on the left-hand side, Pulisic's a right-footed player, so what he likes to do, he can hit with his left, but still, he scores goals with his left, but he prefers to go to his right. He's going to look to cut back into the center of the field and get the ball off his right foot. They will double-team him for sure. They will expend a player, leaving someone else open somewhere else in order to shut Pulisic down, and they will nip at his heels, and he will be on the carpet all night. Trust me. So
I just hope he doesn't get nutmegged. That's all I care about.
He could.
Canada.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Exactly.
That word it's like my Tourette's. I just yelled out a country.
Just yell Canada.
Canada.
Blame Canada.
So we're expecting to go to the round of 16, though. We expect this to be a victory.
Right. So here's my thought on this, and here is why I am so boldly predicting a victory. And it is because of the Pochettino way, which I don't know what it will end up being called, but let's go with that for now. The Pochettino way has been wholesale changes in between games, and which he did in the game against Turkey. It has not had any impact on the starting team. So I fully believe this starting team is going to come out hungry to win an elimination game for the first time since 2002, by the way.
Wow.
They're going to be
lost four straight,
it's going to be at whatever they're calling that, Bay Area Stadium. I can't even know what they're calling Levi. They're calling something like that.
Which, by the way, is 115 yards by 74.4 yards.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. Good to know.
Thank you.
So they're going to have a home crowd, big home crowd for the U.S. Bosnia doesn't have that big of a footprint in the Bay
Not in
Area
San
at
Francisco.
all. Yeah, so it's going to be a hugely partisan red, white, and blue crowd. I would just be shocked if they didn't come in. Bosnia has a lot of similarities to Paraguay. They were going to play in a low block. They've got some speedy players who can cut you on the counterattack. It's a very similar setup. And look what we did to Paraguay. So I do think
Paraguay
the U.S.
who beat Germany.
Unbelievable. Still unbelievable. But I do think the U.S. has a great, great chance to get out ahead of this game and punch their ticket back to Seattle, by the way, which is where the round of 16 game would happen the following Monday. Next Monday, the 6th of July, is where the round of 16 game will happen. Which is pretty exciting.
And who would we play? The winner of what match? What match would we play the winner of?
We will face either Senegal or Belgium in the round of 16.
Ooh.
Okay, so hear me out.
Belgium's tough, yeah.
Hear me out.
Yeah.
It doesn't get easier. It only gets much, much harder, right? Bosnia is the layup that we get. It's the gimme that we get because we finished top of the group, right? And the reason that some of these other teams are getting knocked out now is because they didn't finish top of the group and they had to take on a higher wattage team. We get the benefit of getting to play the 64th team in FIFA because of how we did in the group. But after this, it gets rough. Now, here's what I will say. both Senegal and Belgium are beatable teams. They are beatable.
They're
This
both
is not. They
beatable.
are not Argentina or France or Portugal or England. They are not those teams, or Spain.
We could get to
Belgium and Senegal are a step down from those teams, a big step. Especially Belgium this year has not had a great World Cup at all. The Red Devils, as they are called. They have not had a great World Cup. Belgium at one point, and this is probably 2 cycles ago, I think when they played the 2018 in Russia, everyone was touting the golden generation of Belgium. But that golden generation has now aged out. Some of them, like Kevin De Bruyne, who's a great player, still playing, but he's older. He's 1 year away from coming to Major League Soccer in the United States and finishing out his career in some sunny location.
Amazing.
Seriously. And it was already talked about. It just didn't happen this year. It will happen next year. So, we'll deal with that when we deal with it, but still. All right. Thank you, guys. This has been great. This has been our preview of the U.S. versus Bosnia, a game that is happening tomorrow at 8 p.m. on the East Coast, 5 p.m. Pacific. It's going to be an amazing game up in the Bay Area of California, a U.S. versus Bosnia Herzegovina. Please tune in, and we'll figure out some post-game to tell you all about what happened in that game after the fact. Thank you to Mark and to Gary. You guys have been amazing as usual. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Tell your friends. If you have a comment or question, you can also email us, soccercuriouspodcast@gmail.com. Thanks, guys. See you later.